Hey everyone, this is Megan Hillier from Know Your Ancestors, and you're listening to the Know Your Ancestors podcast. Many of us have an innate desire to understand our roots, to know where we come from, and to understand the lives of our ancestors. On the show, I sit down with content creators and entrepreneurs to share some of the stories that I've uncovered and compiled about their own ancestors. Watch and listen as we discuss the traumatic and life-changing events of their close ancestors that helped shape who these guests are today. Hello and welcome to the podcast today. Today is a behind the scenes look at some of the things that I did to research for Angie Reeder's episode last week. So if you haven't watched that one yet, go back and watch that episode with Angie Reeder where we looked at the life of her great-grandmother Doris. And I wanted to share just one of the tools that I used to be able to find where her ancestors lived. So a lot of times we have ancestors that were farmers. They didn't have a physical address like a street number or whatever that we can input on Google, right? We're left with maybe a land record that describes where they lived. Now in the Western United States and Canada, we have the township system of the township, range roads, sections, and that sort of thing. And there are a couple tools that I use to find those sorts of things for this episode. So first I'm going to share with you where I got the information about where her family lived, and then what website I used to locate that. And then I'm going to share another tool for those of you who live in the United States, a tool that you can use to find those land records and then find where those plots of land are that your ancestor lived in. Okay, so here's the 1931 census where I found this land information. So in Canada, some of the censuses have this land information there, the township and the range and the section. Okay, and so this information is what you can use to locate where that land is. Okay, so here is where I found that section was. I mapped it out, and then you can see in reference where it is and find the locations there. So I'm going to show you the website that I used to locate where this was. So first we have to know what these numbers are, and at the heading of the census, it will tell you that this 33 is the section, 1 is the township, 23 is the range, and then W4 is the meridian. Okay. Now, usually they have like a quarter section of this piece of land, or even smaller than that, or maybe they have several quarters of that land. So we don't know exactly what quarter they had, but just that they lived on this section of land. So I'm going to show you the website that I used to locate where that was. Okay, so in Alberta, there's this website that you can use called altalis.com. So ALTALIS.com. There's probably other ones that you can use for different provinces, but this is the one I found for Alberta. So when you get on this website, you can just hit search here, and then you can type in the information that you have. So we have that it was west of the 4th meridian. We just have 4 that you can input in here anyways, or 4 or 5. So in Alberta, we're going to do 4. Then the range was 23, if you remember from that census record. The township was 1, and then the section was 33. So then we'll select that. And then it's going to zoom in to where that section was. Okay, so then we can zoom out a bit and see where that actually is. Okay, so here is where that was. Here's Cardston. Here's that section of land that Angie's great-grandparents had. So then you can see here's Whiskey Gap down here. You can kind of find out where in relation. Then if you zoom in, you can even find what township roads are nearby. So here's Township Road 20. Here is the north border of this section of land. Okay, and then that's Range Road 234, I believe. Here's 235. Yeah, 234. So we know that that's where those roads are. We could even go drive out there if you live nearby, and then we can see that section of land. Now, like I said before, that normally they had like 1/4 of this land was normally a homestead. I think 1/4 is about 80 acres. If I remember right, a whole section is 160. And so normally it was broken into those sections unless they had purchased all of that land. So that's how you can find those section maps for Alberta. At least you can use that website, altalis.com. If you live in the United States, which a lot of you do, there is another website that you can use, and that is the Bureau of Land Management website in the United States. GLROrecords.blm.gov is where you can go for that. And you can also look for land records here. So there's land patents for different locations in the United States. You can look up your ancestors' land that will then give you those plat information for those records. And then you can go down here and look at the land catalog and find where that was. So I'm just going to show you how you can do that. So I'm going to look up a land patent for someone. Just going to choose any place, okay? Let's just try California. And let's just look at the last name, Smith. Okay, so we find this one here from California in 1861. You can see that it has the township and range, and then the aliquots, so the different sections or different quarter sections, I should say, of that section, number 24. Okay, so then when we click on one of these land records, when we find the one that's our ancestor, you can see the patent image. So then you can see that document that from the land patent that gave them that land. Okay, then you can read that document. So he's getting 160 acres for William Smith. And then when we scroll down, it tells you exactly where. So the north half of the northeast quarter and the north half of the northwest quarter. Anyways, in the section 24 in township 22, north of range 3 west in the district of lands subject to sale. Okay, containing 160 acres. So now we have that information. So you can write it down or you can go back to that previous page and see what it was. So we have section 24 in township 22, north of the range 3 west. Okay, so then I'll look at this patent details and then I'm going to open a new window here. Okay, then we're going to go back to the home page and scroll down to that map. There's probably a lot more on this website that I just haven't tested out, but there's tract books and other things that you can explore and see if you can find more things about your ancestors. Okay, so then here at the top right, you can put in the information. So we're going to put the state of California. Township was 22. It was 3 west, 22 east, was it? Or 22 north. Let's take a look at that. So look here, 22 north, 3 west. 22 north, 3 west. Oh, why is that not showing up? Okay, let's just scroll down and see if we can find 22 north, 3 west, right? Okay. And then he was section 24. So I'll go to section 24. All right, there's the section. Then when we go back and look at the land description on that image, you can see that it's the north half of the northeast quarter and what else? And the north half of the northwest quarter. Okay, so we go back and look at the map. Okay, so we're being little detectives here. So north half of the northeast quarter. So here's northeast. Okay, so the north half. So this half of the section would have been what he owned, and then the north half of the northwest quarter. So he owned all these 4, I guess, eighths of land here. So these are each 40 acres. I think I said that wrong before. So these are each 40 acres. So he has 160 acres total in this section here. So then we can kind of zoom out and see, where that land actually is in relation to other places. So it's clear and close to Orland in California. I'm not sure where that is, but then if we zoom out some more, we can see, where that land is in relation to California, kind of in the middle there. Okay, near Chico. Cool. Okay, so that is how you can find those plot maps in the United States using that website there. So you can see how finding the land that your ancestors lived in can really help give you some insights into what their life might have been like. Did they live close to a large city? Did they live very rurally? What kind of support would they have had there? What would their life might have been like out there? Would they have had access to doctors or midwives? Would they have kind of been left on their own and just surviving out in the middle of nowhere? Knowing where your ancestors lived is a huge part of understanding what their life might have been like. So hopefully that helps you if you have ancestors that lived in the Western United States. Well, actually, the land plat maps there are in other parts of the United States too. So take a look at that, try it out, and see if you can get a little more of a glimpse into what your ancestors' lives might have been like. This was a lot of fun to do for Angie in the previous episode, if you want to go listen to that, to see just how her ancestors' lives might have been like living in the prairies in southern Alberta, right north of the US border. It's a really helpful thing to understand what your ancestors' life was like. So go try it out, and I'd love to hear if you have any success with that. So send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast today. If you could leave a rating and review, that would be great. This is how people can find the podcast and get more people to listen and to understand the power of knowing their ancestors. If you want to learn how to do this yourself, how to build your family tree, or how to learn the stories of your ancestors, you can go to knowyourancestors.co to find my 2 courses that are available to purchase. Know Your Family Tree takes you through understanding how to build your family tree and how to research it. This is the basis for how you can find information and stories about your ancestors. And then my more in-depth course, Know Your Ancestor, where you can learn how to look at records differently, how to find those pieces of information that tell your ancestor's story, to consider what trauma they might have experienced, what resilience they had in face of their challenges, and can help you really understand yourself in the process. So you can go check out both of those courses on my website, knowyourancestors.co.